romantic journey begins in the city of Cannes, in the south of France, the Blue Coast, the Côte D'azur. With palms on each side, the main street is called Croisette and is flanked by the beach and the sea. Le Suquet, the old town that is located above the ancient port, has, in spite of tourism, managed to retain its air of calm sophistication. A walk through narrow and picturesque alleys leads up to the tiny mountain of Mont Chevalier, on which the city's historical district is situated. This is the majestic location of the ancient castle of the abbots of Lérins, and also the huge cathedral of Notre-Dame de l'Espérance, a fine example of late Gothic provincial architecture. The iron mask above the entrance of the city governor's residence is reminiscent of the novel of the same name by Alexandre Dumas. Is it possible that the author of this exciting tale about a king and his twin brother dreamed up the story while living in Cannes? In the busy port between the new festival theatre and the picturesque houses of the old town, fishing boats are moored alongside elegant yachts. Here, an armada of impressive sailing craft from all over the world lie at anchor, while millionaires in designer sea captain attire enjoy the simple luxury of doing nothing. We pass across the old port by ferry to the largest of the Lérins Islands, the Île Sainte-Marguerite. Richelieu built the island's Fort Royal that eventually became a prison. Its most famous occupant was the man in the iron mask, whose secret identity Dumas later revealed to the world. The famous prisoner is said to have been a real-life historic figure. In any event, this well-restored fortress is well worth a visit. Our journey leads further along the coast to the Cap d'Antibes. A huge wall encircles the old town and protects the fortified castle that from 1386 was in the hands of the Grimaldis and later became a French possession in the 16th century. On top of the fortress wall, there is a tourist train, a relaxing way to explore the scenery. Passing old houses, the route leads through a confusion of narrow medieval alleys, up to the fortress. As a defense against its border with Savoy, Antibes had much military significance. The fortress complexes resisted all attempts of invasion. But what would the Coast of Dreams be without its queen? With its magnificent Promenade Des Anglais, Nice is a most interesting and unique city. The extensive sandy beaches of Nice are extremely inviting. When visiting the Hotel Negresco, it's quite possible to encounter the city's most photographed man, the hotel's commissionaire in the full riding costume of Napoleonic times. Lavish buildings that date back to the turn of the century flank the boulevards of Angel Bay. The historical centre of the city, Vielle Ville, has maintained its charm, with the most well set out fish market on the whole Côte D'azur, and a fruit and flower market that each day offers fresh produce and satisfies all the requirements of its customers. The Place Garibaldi, with its palais and arcades, is named after one of the city's most famous residents. Giuseppe Garibaldi was born in 1808, and although Nice later reverted to France, he fought strongly for its unification with Italy. In keeping with the historic ambience of the old town, the St. Augustine Church is one of the city's oldest religious buildings. Nice has many faces, a modern centre of commerce, and also 500 years as a religious Italian city. With its stylish entrance hall and numerous lavish rooms that feature ceiling paintings and wall decorations, the 17th century Palais La Syrie is now a museum. Exhibits of clothing and fashion provide a comprehensive insight into that glorious era. And next, a journey on the Azure Express. The route goes through the narrow and bewildering alleys of the old town and up Castle Hill, along a winding road and past the ruins of a medieval fortress. Next, a bracing downhill ride returns us to the old town, down to the Promenade Des Anglais. The magnificent Promenade des Anglais, named after the resort's former large contingent of English visitors, was built during the 19th century. With a gate that joins the old city to the new, a red building complex dominates the Place Massena, in the middle of which there is a fine ensemble of water fountains. The Acropolis of Nice, within a post-modernistic building that bears an ancient name, is a gigantic multi-purpose legislative and cultural centre that has stamped its own unique character on the city. The Museum of Modern Art is contained within a building constructed of marble, iron and glass, in front of which are displayed contemporary works of art. Many Russian noblemen found a new home in Nice. The Russian Tsars also spent much time here, and in around 1900, a Russian Orthodox church was built, an exotic sight. Located at the foot of a naturally sheltered bay is the city's old port, Port Olympia. Huge yachts dominate the scene. It's from here that large ferries journey to Corsica. Nice is a place of contrast, with the pulsating life of an international city and all the Mediterranean flair of the south. Passing the old train station, the route leads up the hilly inland to the city quarter of Suquet and to ancient Roman ruins. Why, after 5 centuries, the Romans left here is unknown. Perhaps the distance to the sea was too great. On a large area of ground, an ancient Roman amphitheatre and baths were discovered. Further evidence of Roman occupation is exhibited in the local museums. On the opposite side of the hill, divided by an olive grove, is the church of Notre Dame de Suquet. And a monastery garden with colourful flower beds, fountains and narrow pathways. Once again, we travel on Castle Mountain to the east of the city, to the ruins of some large fortifications that were destroyed in 1706. The isolated remains of a church's fortified walls indicate the generous dimensions of the buildings that once stood here. The cannon of the ancient fortress are included in our last views of Nice Bay. In the centre of the Côte D'Azur's enchanting landscape is the picturesque medieval village of Aise. The village was founded in around 600 BC and dates back to the Iron Age, the first settlement of a nomadic tribe. Its fine old buildings, charming back streets and archways are real architectural gems, each one having been decorated with great attention to detail. Life in the village was mostly very rural, but in the 19th century, Aise had already begun to attract visitors from further afield. The Jardin Exotique was built on the uppermost rock ridge of the village. In this region's hot, though dry climate, that is similar to that of a desert, Exotic plants and cactuses flourish here. The inhabitants of Èze are very proud of their botanical garden, one of the village's most beautiful features. It's difficult to believe that in bygone times this tranquil setting was the location of a well-defended fortress that saw many a bloody battle. Most damage was done to the village in the year 1706. The troops of King Louis XIV destroyed each of Èze's fortifications. The military importance of Èze was thus completely erased for all time. Breathtaking panoramic views down to the Mediterranean are an additional treat. Finally, we reach the Principality of Monaco. After the Vatican, this is the smallest yet most unique sovereign state in the world. The city of Monte Carlo contains the Principality's most famous symbol, the casino. Designed by the architect of the Paris Opera House, Charles Garnier, this superb casino was built in 1878. The terrace of this magnificent building of the Belle Époque provides a wonderful view over the old town. Luxury yachts anchor in the harbour throughout the year. They travel from all over the world to visit this much sought-after tax haven, an exclusive casino paradise. The harbour district, with its typical French atmosphere and overlooking apartments, joins Monaco Ville with Monte Carlo. The Palais de France looks down majestically on its guests. A wide and secure path leads up to the large rock plateau of La Roche, upon which Monaco Ville is crowned by its princely palace. The palace was built here in 1215 on a former mighty Genoese fortress. Each day at 5 minutes to noon, the ritual begins. The changing of the guard takes place in front of the Moorish-styled entrance to the palace. The palace guard puts on a perfect performance that pleases the tourists, who show their appreciation with a loud round of applause. Monaco has a long history. In 1297, The Grimaldis came to power and ruled here until 1731. Next followed the monarchs of the Goyen de Matignon dynasty, who took the name Grimaldi and are still in power today. The main street of Monaco Ville's old town, the Rue Basse, is in fact a narrow alley that leads from Palace Square across the densely populated Rock Hill. The splendidly renovated houses in the narrow alleys date from the Middle Ages. Most days, tourists congregate here from all over the world to enjoy the unique ambience of the Côte D'Azur's celebrated joie de vivre. The Rue Basse suddenly opens up to reveal a small fountain in front of a tiny chapel. All the picturesque detail of the houses and narrow alleys of the old town are straight off a picture postcard. The Grimaldi dynasty successfully managed to maintain their heritage and ensured their survival for future generations. The facade of the Palace of Justice is reminiscent of an Italian Gothic palace, but a smaller version. Here, space is at a premium. The neo-Roman Monaco Cathedral was built in around 1897. The cathedral's large interior is dominated by the main altar, designed by Louis Breyer, and the Archbishop's throne that consists of white Carrara marble. This is also the location of the grave of ex-Hollywood actress Princess Grace of Monaco, who died tragically in a car accident. On the opposite side of Monaco Ville, the old town was built on a rocky plateau that slopes down steeply to the sea. And it was here that Prince Albert established the Oceanographic Museum. And of course, a round trip on the Azur Express is an absolute must. The train journey starts in front of the museum. A leisurely ride leads down to the harbour area. And the next train tour is already starting. Now there is just enough time for a visit to the Jardin Exotique. With its many thousands of plants, this incredible garden is a place of splendid tranquility and certainly well worth a visit. From amid the cacti, there is a wonderful view across both Monaco and the blue coast of dreams. The essence of luxury under the southern sun. The Côte D'azur.